I'm Kelli Tennant. I am a TV host for Spectrum Sportsnet and Sportsnet LA in Los Angeles. I cover the Lakers, Dodgers, Galaxy, and Sparks, doing pre and post game and sideline coverage for all of our teams. And I'm a health and wellness advocate, living a very clean life, and a former USC women's volleyball player. And I am definitely an outlier.
Everybody, welcome to Outlier on Air, the podcast where we interview founders, disruptors, and mavens. As always, I'm your host, Ever Gonzalez. On today's episode, we have Kelli Tennant. She's a super utility TV host, contributor at Thrive, and author of The Transition, Every Athlete's Guide to a Life After Sports. Kelli, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
We are excited to have you here for a million reasons. A few of them, you're from LA. You cover sports. You're big on social media. You're big on health. I mean, a lot of the things that we kind of geek out over, and so we're glad you're here and spending a few moments with us. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it should be fun. Lots to cover.
That's right. Now, I mean, let's get right into it. You are a host and reporter for Spectrum Sportsnet and Sportsnet LA, covering Lakers, Dodgers, Galaxy, and Sparks. What is that like? I mean, it seems like you don't have a dull moment in your life, in your career right now.
I don't. Yeah, no, it's been really fun. I started about 4 years ago with Spectrum, which was then Time Warner, and it has been an absolute whirlwind. When I first started, I had signed on to do the Lakers, Galaxy, and Sparks. We didn't even have a Dodgers network yet. And then a year later, the Dodgers network popped up. I had never even covered baseball, and they said, hey, you're going to go fill in and do some Dodgers. And look at where we are now, which is nuts. I have about 40 games this year, and it has been so fun covering this team, of course, because, it's the best team in baseball. But like you said, there's never a dull moment, and I'm on TV what feels like every day doing something different because I am covering so many teams, and I don't get bored, and it's always exciting, and I get to be around a lot of really interesting, successful athletes, so I have no complaints.
This show, we almost have 400 episodes, so we've interviewed 400 or so entrepreneurs and founders and different personalities. The reason that we wanted to have you on here were because of the topics that we kind of just discussed, but also you're kind of carving your own path with your career and your own personal brand, right? And so I think that relates a lot to what a lot of us are doing as entrepreneurs and those that are trying to build our own companies and our own kind of personal brand. And so we want to be able to learn a lot from you. So I want to go back to the beginning, right? You were an athlete, played at USC. You played volleyball, All-American, right? At USC.
I was, yes.
Did you think that you were going to go on to be a professional athlete? I mean, that's a little bit of a transition from what you were doing in college to like your career now. What was that like, and what led you here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have wanted to be on TV since I was 10. We had this little television broadcast show at our middle school, and I hosted the morning announcements and told everyone we were having chicken nuggets and whatnot for lunch. And I fell in love with being on camera. I was in every classroom on the TV, and I thought this was so cool. And that was my first real introduction into television. And I decided from that moment on, that's it, I'm going to be on TV. And so as I got better at volleyball and I was being recruited, the schools I was looking at, I was specifically looking at places where I could either do communications or broadcasting. And all of those schools just so happened to be very good at volleyball. So it was sort of a wash. And I ended up at USC because of the broadcast program. They're one of the best in the country. And I knew I would have access to internships and jobs and networking in LA because it's the number 2 market in the country. So that was really my focus. And I started interning as soon as I got to USC, every single summer, if not more, just trying to get my feet wet. And USC was so good to me. They let me cover sports at school and go out to football practice and interview the players and do sit-down interviews and go on the bus with my teammates and, have fun with the mic in my hand. So I got a ton of experience early on. And I never actually wanted to play professionally. I played with the national team in their pipeline from age 12 to 17. And that was really fun. I loved it. It was super competitive. And I was one of the best players in the country, but it was never really my goal to pursue it further because one, I knew I wanted to be on TV, and two, there's just not a lot of money and a lot of future in it. Most of those girls that, whether it's on the AVP or playing professionally, they either have other jobs or have to go overseas to make money because there's just not a lot of money in it in the United States. So I was very clear on what my vision was and what I wanted out of life. So I had that leg up, I think, on a lot of people and just knowing early on.
Oh, that's perfect. So it's almost, with athletes, right? They either can't make it or they retire or whatever, and then they transition into broadcasting. You, from the very beginning, this was the plan.
It was, yeah. I say I'm an outlier. It's funny that your show is called that because my teacher in third grade called me an outlier, and I was so offended. I came home and I said to my mom with tears in my eyes, my teacher called me an outlier and I'm weird. And she's like, that's a compliment.
Nice.
Just like, let's talk through this. But I have always been that kid that was mature and got good grades and knew what I wanted out of life. And I just made that decision early. And so I think it set me apart in a lot of ways. But looking back now at 29, I'm so glad I made that decision because it is such a competitive industry. And I'm so glad I knew what I wanted to do.
I'm sure there's been a little bit of luck and a few things fall your way, but it's also, from kind of following your career a little bit, a lot of hard work and a lot of smart moves, right? You're a hometown girl, right, from Southern California, went to a great Southern California school. You're covering the Dodgers, Mike, for crying out loud, the Lakers, right? All these great things, and you didn't have to kind of go be a rookie in like Idaho at some crappy TV station or something like that. Like everything lined up perfectly. What do you attribute that to?
I got so lucky. You're so right. I mean, I definitely prepare. I work really hard. I do have to give myself credit for that. But I made good decisions early on. And going to USC is still one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life because the people there, especially our sports information director, Tim Teslone, is an absolute godsend. And I owe my career to him in so many ways because when I got sick, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more later, he helped me by calling Fox, calling ESPN, getting me out there, making sure that I was pursuing my dream in my career and that I had every opportunity available to me. And people like that along the way have truly made such an impact. And my boss now, Jared Stacy at Spectrum, was my producer for ESPN when I was calling volleyball matches, and he got the job. And I remember him calling me and saying, hey, I got the Lakers gig. I'm one of the associate producers here, whatever, in the studio. You need to get better so I can hire you. And I was 23 at the time, and I laughed at him on the phone. I said, this guy is crazy. And then a year and a half later, he hired me and I got the Laker job. And it's truly about relationships and working hard and timing and luck. And everything has really come together for me. I do really feel so grateful and so lucky.
It's funny. I when I think of cutthroat jobs, right, where you have to be on your game day in, day out, anything in Hollywood, obviously at your level with sports and broadcasting, it took quite a bit to get there. Now, what is it like trying to stay there, right? I mean, there's somebody with a target on your back that's trying to kind of take your place. What is that now? What are you doing to kind of stay in the mode and on top of all of it?
Yeah, it's funny. I think every business and job is competitive, but because everything we do is so in people's faces and it's on TV, it's on social media, and there are so many young men and women that want to do what we do. And I think that's so cool that I have a job that other people would like to do, because I don't think a lot of people have that luxury or in that place where they have such a desirable job to go to every day, and it's not a 9 to 5, and it's fun and it's always different. But I don't think about it as having a target on my back, only because I'm a firm believer that there's a place for everyone. And this comes back to me believing in women supporting women, especially in this business, because it is so cutthroat and it can be so ugly, that there is a place for everyone, and everyone has this really unique way of being themselves and telling stories, connecting with athletes, whatever it may be. And I think that there's a role for all of us to succeed and to thrive as long as you stay true to who you are and you're really authentic. And for me, to stay in this and to be relevant and to be good at my job has really meant me being the most authentic version of myself as possible, and just growing constantly and challenging myself and putting me in situations that are challenging and difficult and constantly making me better. When I got the Dodgers job, I said I had never covered baseball. That was really challenging, but I also have to admit I had never really covered basketball and I had never covered soccer. So every single thing that I've done, I had to start from scratch, because not only did I not cover them, but I never played those sports. I was never, a huge fan of any of them either. So I really had to work super hard to learn. And I just constantly put myself in situations where I can learn, challenge myself, and then thrive.
So what's that learning curve then, right? I mean, not only do you have to be so good at baseball or just basketball, but a few different sports. For the casual fan, right? We think that we can do like your job or something similar, but I mean, you have to be an insider. You have to be on top of everything that happens. Was it difficult to get to this level and to stay at this level?
Yes, it's so funny because you don't see what goes on behind the scenes, of course, but that's where almost all of my work is. Once the show starts, I'm cruising. I'm having fun. I'm laughing. I'm talking to great people. It's so fun. But the preparation that goes in before is pretty intense. I mean, because I'm not with any team every single day and I'm constantly changing, I read every article that comes out about all of our teams every day, because I need to know what's happening, and I can't show up after not having done a Dodger game for 3 weeks and not know what has happened. And with baseball, there's a million transactions, guys up and down on the DL, so many games happening that it would be a really bad idea for me to wait until the morning of to say, I wonder what's been going on for the last couple of weeks. So a lot of it is reading. A lot of it was, and still is, me asking our analysts questions. And I'm so grateful to have Oral Hershiser and Nomar Garcia-Parra, Jerry Hairston, Ned Coletti, because they
Some
have
of the
been
greats, for sure.
Yeah, right. I pinched myself. I'm like, by the way, you're working with legends every day. Don't forget. But they have been so great. They said from day one, they knew I didn't know baseball. And they said, look, ask us any question. Nothing is dumb. And I really took that to heart. And I ask them questions still every day, because they are the experts. They played the game. I want to know, okay, so you're in this situation. What was going through your mind? And I use Oral a lot because when you're talking to pitchers, it's such a special position, right? And unless you've done it, you don't really know what you're talking about as much. And so I try to talk to Oral to get inside the mind of Clayton Kershaw or Rich Hill, just to understand the nuances and the feelings and the emotions and what it's like to be a pitcher. And they have just been really helpful to put me in positions where I can succeed.
And you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but so you're a female in a male-dominated industry. Is that good or bad? I mean, have there been any issues as far as not being taken seriously by the people that you're sitting next to or interviewing, or has it been pretty good?
It's funny. I wouldn't say it's good or bad. I would say it's been a great lesson in a lot of ways. My first year, I will admit, I definitely left the clubhouse crying a few times for various reasons. One, I was so overwhelmed. I had never been in a clubhouse. And for those people that have never been in a clubhouse in any capacity, it's a lot happening. You have guys running around, obviously coming in and out. They're changing. They're getting ready to go. You have mostly male writers covering them. You have the whole PR team. And then you have a camera, and you have to go up to the players and you have to ask them to talk to you. And sometimes they're going to say no. And I had never been in that situation before with all this stuff going on. And I was 25, 26 at the time. So I was still relatively new, and I was still trying to learn baseball. And there are a lot of rules in the clubhouse. Like, you don't talk to the players when they're sitting on these certain couches. You don't touch their chairs. You don't move things. You kind of have to stay quiet. You're not on your phone. There's just all these things that, unless someone tells you, how are you supposed to know? So I just felt overwhelmed by that. And I've definitely been in situations with people that are uncomfortable, and the players like to test you. And I say that it's learning and it's not good or bad, because I've really learned how to value myself and set my standards and have my morals and values be really true and honest to who I am. And I think that's what's really gotten me through it. And I think the women that do succeed in this business have that same mindset of, this is what I believe in and this is why I'm here. I'm here to do my job. I'm here to be respected, and I respect myself, and I expect you to respect me in return. And because I have that mentality, I can say now I don't have any problems with players. Everyone has been so great. They treat me like a sister. They truly care about who I am. And it's been really fun because of that. But that's something I had to learn rather than, know early on. I think that's every young woman's experience that she has to sort of go through.
I like that it wasn't just handed to you, that you kind of had it, like you said, you had to learn it. You had to kind of fight for it, for that respect, for that, just for people to talk to you, basically. And obviously it shows with the post interviews that you do after the game, and it's great. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Not just for women, right? But I mean, for everybody, that we're all fighting for something in our careers and our lives. And obviously you're doing something right. So congratulations.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things that anyone can do, and I give myself credit for doing this, is I started early on taking my mic and putting it away or giving it to my producer and walking over and just talking to players, not needing something, but actually having normal conversations like they're humans. Because I think we forget that. Sometimes we're like, I need a soundbite. Let me just go talk to so-and-so and get him to talk to me, rather than just talking to them and building those relationships. And I think that's made the biggest difference. And I would always recommend that to someone young trying to build their way in, is have those conversations and remember that, we're all going through the same things. And if you take interest in who someone is as a person, rather than just what they can offer you as an athlete and giving you something, then they're really going to respect you back because of that.
It's refreshing to see. And obviously you're not hiding the fact that you had to learn it, and sometimes it was difficult. And like you mentioned, you left crying a couple times from the clubhouse, and now looking at you, what you're doing now, it's pretty inspiring. So right now, what are you the best at? Life, career, like what makes you right now?
I am my most authentic, true, raw, honest self right now. And I think that is what allows me to be good at interviews, because I really break down the barrier, and it's not I'm the interviewer, you're the interviewee, let's do this back and forth and call it a day. I like to feel the emotions of the person I'm talking to. I like to really get down to it in the nitty gritty and feel what they're going through. When the team is having so much fun and I'm with Yasiel Puig on the field and we're doing this interview and he's getting doused in Gatorade, I honestly feel like I'm on the team and I'm going through this and I did something great to be a part of this. And I don't mean that to say, oh, I think I'm one of the Dodgers. I just mean that is the emotion you want to have in an interview, and to enjoy it and to bring that out of the person you're talking to. And if I didn't let my guard down and relax and try and be in the moment, then that wouldn't happen. And the same thing happens when they are playing terrible and someone is really upset about their performance, and I have to go in and be the one to ask them the questions. And I'm able to take myself to being an athlete and playing horribly and having the team on your back and letting everybody down. And I go to that place with them because I really do care. And I think that is what makes me good at what I do.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Now let's switch a little bit. Let's talk about social media, right? With what you're doing, obviously with social media, we're able to obviously have a lot of fun with it, but also be able to build our own personal brands on top of what we're doing for a job or as we're building companies, things like that. What role does social media play in your life and career?
It plays a very important role, because I think for the career aspect, it's really important to connect with fans and to, talk about the shows coming up and promote what we're doing and all of that stuff. I think it's more important for me personally, though, because if you look at my social media, yes, of course, I post from where I'm working and what I'm doing, but I don't really talk a lot about it. I talk more personally and sharing what I'm doing during the day, whether it's cooking or my workouts or health and wellness or building young women up, whatever it is. I really like this idea that I can connect with people on really deep, thoughtful issues and things that we all go through, to make them feel like they have this safe space where they can be heard and understood. Because I felt alone for a long time, and I realized that if I felt that way, other people probably do too. And so the more I've been able to share my life on social media, I've gotten so much in return. And it's just sort of this little community I feel like I have where we can all share and help each other grow and learn and just continue the conversation in a positive way.
You know, I like that. Obviously, we do research on the people that we interview, so we kind of did a little bit on you as well, obviously. But personally being a Dodger fan and seeing you, over the last few years, the common theme, it feels like, with your social media and the things that you kind of talk about, whether on other interviews or you've been on in magazine articles as well, is that you're very passionate about helping women succeed and live authentic lives and things like that. And it kind of feels like, I don't know if it started there, but it certainly kind of helped it with, you've had some issues or some health conditions that you've kind of have been through and are been able to overcome and things like that. Are those two connected?
Yeah, I think it's all connected, and it's funny that you say that. I never really thought about it, but I guess it is. I remember when I was little, I told my mom I wanted to be famous so that I could help people. And I didn't really understand the depth of what that meant at the time, but now at my age, as I become more well-known, I realize how much that matters and how much that truly is what drives me for everything that I do. And I constantly find myself coming up with ideas and things that I want to do, and it all comes back to, how does this help someone? And when I wrote my book, it was, if this helps one person, then 5 years of writing this was totally worth it. And for me, I was bullied by girls growing up and in adulthood as well. And that was very painful. And it's still, looking back, is something that I carry with me and I keep it in mind. But I'm so glad that it happened, because when I see all these young women coming up in the business and women that I've worked with for a long time, my whole thing is about treating them well, because I've also had these incredible women that have mentored me and taken me under their wing, that have shown me how to properly treat other people and how important it is to give back and to make sure that everyone feels taken care of and loved and like they are accepted into this world, because it's a tough world to break into, like we talked about earlier, and to not feel like you're a part of it or that you're not welcome, that's painful and that's hard. So I've learned that it's really important to create that space for women. And as my health journey has continued, I've wanted to create the same space for everyone. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to me wanting to have this community where people feel like they can ask questions and not be told that that's a dumb question, or that they can be curious doing things outside the box, and that they always will feel safe and loved and like they are enough and they are accepted.
Well, I love that, and that's something that I don't know. It's has a lot to do with obviously staying positive, but being healthy as well. And you are certainly focusing on a lot on health and wellness, and it kind of plays a big role in your life, right? Is that something just that you're kind of doing personally, or are you trying to build something off of this where you're bringing more people into, I don't know, maybe learning a little bit more or experiencing this with you? How does that work?
I haven't really decided. I kept my illness. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2007, and I had to stop playing volleyball because of it. And of course, it rocked my world, and it's something I've been dealing with for 10 years. I call myself the best liar, because I basically have been living this double life where I've been extremely ill for so long, but no one would ever know it, because if you look at my Instagram, I look real healthy and real happy.
Yeah, you're 6'1", very athletic, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you're out there active.
Yeah, and I have learned to live with it, and I haven't always been in extreme pain and bedridden the way I was when it first started, but I've had some really, really horrible dark times that no one ever knew about, because I didn't feel comfortable sharing it. I want people to think I'm perfect and that I have everything together and that there's nothing wrong with me. And being on TV and feeling terrible and looking terrible is really not an option. So I sort of have this switch that I flip when I go to work, and I become TV Kelli. And normal Kelli, who's sick and doesn't feel good and is in pain and fatigue, just I don't let her exist for however long I have to be at work. And I got tired of it, and I just felt like I wasn't helping anyone by not being completely honest. And so I just started to share more. And after sharing just a couple times, I was flooded with comments and emails from people saying, thank you for not acting like you have everything together. Thank you for not trying to be this perfect TV person. I think there is a lot of that out there where people feel like they're sick or there's something wrong with them because they're not perfect and they, don't have these great Instagram pictures or whatever it is. They just don't feel enough or there's something wrong with them. And I just don't like the idea of that. And I would rather we all just share whatever we're going through and be honest and help each other. And that's just kind of where I got to. I felt like I wanted to share. And where that goes from here, I don't know. People have said you should write a book about your health journey. And I'm still on my health journey. My doctor is constantly blowing my mind with new revelations every time I take a test. Yeah. I found some stuff out that totally no doctor had come up with in the last 10 years. And I've been misdiagnosed with things. Wow. And there's just a lot of stuff popping up that no one had ever looked into. And so I'm still trying to figure it out before I sort of go public with it because I'm trying to understand it myself. But I definitely want to use everything I learned to help other people because I think that there's a lot going on in the world of health and wellness. And I think people just need more education and more outlets to understand their bodies and what they're putting in their mouths and how dangerous some of it can be.
It's funny. It would be so easy for you. And I think a lot of us wouldn't blame you if you just kind of just felt sorry for yourself and didn't do much, right? I mean, just lived. But again, here you are with a great career, with the things that you're doing outside of that. I mean, it looks like you're living a full, happy life, obviously with health challenges and things like that. But there doesn't seem to be any give up in any part of what we see. So congratulations for not... again, we wouldn't blame you if you just kind of were like, yeah, this sucks and I'm not going to do much with my life.
Thank you. Yeah, I think part of that comes from the athlete inside of me. I've played through pain. I've played through being sick. I've played through a lot of stuff, and it's helped me learn how to overcome so much. And I think now that as I deal with this, I'm a fighter and I don't know how else to be. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm just really glad I played sports so that I could go about this in a positive, let me conquer the crap out of it kind of mindset.
So in 3 years, when we have you back on the show, what are we going to be talking about?
Gosh, that's such a great question. A lot of people have been asking me this recently, and I don't really have an answer. My dreams have always been more along the lines of Good Morning America or, moving to New York and doing something like that. But because of my health, I just have realized that it's probably not a good idea to make that move and live in a city that I don't feel is very healthy. I lived there for a year and I was very sick. So it's just not somewhere where I can thrive. And my sweet boyfriend is here in LA, and I'm hoping that, my future includes him. So I don't plan on leaving here anytime. But I don't know. I want to tell stories. I want to have really in-depth conversations with people, not just athletes. And I want to talk about things that really matter. And I want to help people. And I'm not really sure what that looks like right now. So I'm just trying to let things happen organically and just put it out in the universe and be really honest with what I want to do. And then hopefully it comes together. But for now, I'm super happy with what I'm doing. I think it gives me, great access to incredible people, and I'm learning a lot, and I love what I do, and it's really, really fun on a daily basis. So I'm just trying to, for once in my life, enjoy the moment.
Well, we're certainly very involved and are looking forward to what the next few years has in store for you. Obviously, no doubt that we're going to be there cheering you on the entire way. Now,
thank you so much.
As we kind of start to wrap this up a little bit, our audience, right, entrepreneurs, career executives, people like that, people that have started businesses last week, people that have sold many businesses, right? So we have a large group of listeners from all over the world, really. with you and your experiences, everything you've done, what kind of advice would you have for them? Right? Any kind of advice, something that would take them to the next level, whether it's physically, spiritually, emotionally, work-wise, whatever. What kind of advice would you give them? Something they can kind of take into their lives right now to kind of get them to that next level.
Yeah, I was with my energy healer a couple months ago, and we were having a similar discussion about, what is it that I want? What do I care about the most? And he gave me this questionnaire. I'm not sure where he got it, but the questions were all about, what do you think about? What do you enjoy doing? What do you watch? What do you read? And it was all these questions of basically, what are you doing on a daily basis that doesn't necessarily include your work or what you're getting paid for? And so I answered all these questions, and everything was about my dreams of being a wife and a mom and having a work-life balance. I read a ton about health and wellness and spirituality. I watch a lot about the same things, and those are the things I think about. And health is my biggest focus in trying to be, at the peak condition I can be for myself. So I look at all of that, and he said, that is where you have to focus, because that is truly what calls your heart. And so I would say to anyone, answer those questions for yourself. And is what you're doing right now in line with that? Because if it's not, then I don't believe that you're truly following your heart and your life's passion and what your purpose is on this earth. And really ask yourself what makes your heart sing. And my girlfriend Jordan has a podcast that's called Soul on Fire. And I love that. What lights your soul on fire? And that should be what you're doing, because if you're that authentic and true to who you are and what you want, then that's going to take you to the next step. Nothing else will.
Oh, I love that. It's so true, right? Sometimes we get stuck in this daily grind where we're just kind of trying to make a living, or we think that this is what we need to be doing just because it's always been done, where you can do whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever makes you happy, even if it's not making you $1 million a year, go do what makes you happy. So that's great advice. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So last question, where can we find you online?
So on Instagram, I am Kelli M. Tennant, like Michelle. And then Twitter, just Kelli Tennant. That's where I am. I usually use Instagram the most, and I try and reply as much as possible. So if anyone has questions or thoughts they'd like to send along, I will do my best to get back to you.
I love it. So Outliers, you can go to outliermagazine.co. That's outliermagazine.co. First of all, subscribe to our podcast, rate, review it, share it with your friends. But there you're going to find Kelli's page. We're going to have links to her social media accounts, pictures, bio, all that good stuff. Obviously, she's the real deal. She's very inspirational. She knows what she's doing. She's having a great time and having a great career, and really covering the best baseball team in the world, the Dodgers. So, of course, congratulations. And Kelli, this has been fun. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and sharing your journey and the things that you are passionate about. And it was a lot of fun. I think that our audience has been able to learn something from you, and obviously that's the whole purpose of this podcast. So thank you. Thank you so much. I love the concept of what you're doing and the stories you're telling, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Go Dodgers.
That's right. Go Dodgers. And Outliers, we'll talk to you tomorrow.